What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are going to start on our torsion catapult build. So I really think we're just going to dive into it and kind of figure it out as we go. Just like with the trebuchet, I have a pretty good feeling that this is going to be just like a shitload of trial and error with this thing. I've never built one before, and just to challenge myself a little bit, I don't want to watch videos on how-tos and stuff like that. So let's get our material together and figure out a plan. Okay, so here we are. I went off camera, obviously, and just cut some of this stuff down to more manageable sizes. Not entirely sure if this arm is long enough. I may have to cut something that's a little bit longer, but we'll see. Now, obviously, the glue's not dry at all, right? It's just tacky enough to hold everything in place, which is exactly what I want because I'm going to be driving fasteners up through the bottom to hold these other support pieces in. So I'm not really concerned about this drying to its completion. That can be done, overnight, and the fasteners will secure everything in place. So now let's find the center of this. So we have 5 1/8, so that is 2 9/16. 4. There's our center. All right, so I'm going to give myself a 3/4 inch reveal on either side of this base. Our arm will sit here somewhere. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is long enough. It just doesn't quite seem like it will be, but maybe, I don't know. Oh, you bitch. Now the trick here is to just not let this move at all off that 3/4 inch mark. Glue is like a fucking lubricant, no? All right, that's fucked. That's what that is. Right in the come on, get up in there. There you go. That looks better. Alright, now we will repeat the process on the other side. So now what I need to do is put some type of blocking here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to place them yet, but just something that will allow the axle to sit up above the base so that this can rotate down. Because remember, we do have to put this torsion system through here and attach that to the bottom. Now, here's the thing. I believe that the torsion system has to be at the same spot as the axle, right? It would have to. It would have to. All right. That gives me something to go on, I hope. Quick side note, you really should wear a pair of gloves when using one of these sanders. I don't know if anybody's ever run their bare finger across one of these belts before, or really a sander of any kind, but this will take every single layer of your skin off like that. So I've drilled the holes in these pieces. I'm not entirely sure really what to call these, but in any case, they sit on top of the base, right, and they support the arm and the torsion system. So I've drilled the holes through those. And now I'm just going to countersink in both sides of them, just to make it a little bit less aggressive for the rope as it comes out. Now, to ensure that I get these pieces perfectly parallel with one another, what I'm actually going to do is just the drill bit right back through it. That looks pretty good right there. Right on. Looks pretty good. Now, of course, I could have used a nailer to just shoot all this shit together. I mean, a brad nailer or something like that. So now we need to figure out our torsion system. Like I said, I don't believe there is an axle that goes through this, like so, in addition to a torsion system with the arm. I don't think that's the way they did that. I think it is the torsion system that holds everything in place. Those ropes twisted under tension the whole time. I believe that is what keeps it in place. Now, I could be way, way, way off. I'm not sure. I'm going to test that out initially. If it doesn't work, then obviously I was wrong, and I'll have to go back and put an axle in. But for now, I'm going to try that out. Hopefully, I'm right on the money with that. Before I get there, I do want to build up my bracing here in the front. So here we are, back to it. Now, I cut these upright supports at 5 inches. I don't really know where I came up with that number from. I just think that with this cross support here, I'm not sure how well you can see that. I'll try to change the angle that I'm at. With this cross support here, I just think that's going to be a pretty good height for the arm to stop at. So, fasten these in place now. Get this cross brace up top put in, and then we really will start working on the torsion system and figuring out how we're gonna loop these strings through and tighten that up and everything. Now, as a side note, while I put this together, one thing I really need to start considering in the shed is some type of air filtration system or dust collection of some kind, especially using like a combination sander or something like that in here. The dust just kind of, I mean, you can see it floating in the air, especially around like the ring light and everything. And we all know where that dust is going, right? It's going right into my lungs. So it's probably a good idea, if I'm going to be spending a significant amount of time out here working, to invest in something like that. I'm just not really sure which brand to go with, or really even where to start with that. I know nothing about dust collection systems, so if anybody has any advice on what I can use to something that's certainly budget friendly, but also that performs well, obviously you can see I'm doing this without a clamp because I really just don't see a way to clamp that without having it be in my way. I think it'll just be faster to do it this way. Now, here is another question. Will this fastener be too long? Will it go into where our torsion ropes are going to be? Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. So, these, they will do. It won't leave too much meat on the other side, but there's also glue there, so once that glue dries, I feel pretty confident that that's going to be a secure bond. It's kind of cool. It's definitely not looking how I envisioned it looking in my head. Since we're already fucking this all up, nice. All right, cool. That looks good. Now what had happened on this side was I just pre-drilled entirely too far into this thing. So by the time this fastener went in, there really wasn't a whole lot of meat for this thing to grab onto in there, and so it just twisted out. So it is holding, but there is glue in there as well. But you can see how tight this one is as opposed to a little bit of a gap in this one. I'm almost wondering if I should put... Yeah, fuck it, we'll see what happens. Now for the part we've all been waiting for. How the hell are we gonna fasten this to this using only string? Now that looks like that's all I'm gonna get to be able to fit through there. So I either have to do one of two things. I either have to make these holes bigger or be happy with this. And to be honest with you, I would like to get one more wrap out of it if I can. I think that would be a lot more substantial in there. So that's what I'm gonna do. Sometimes it is a pain in the ass, but just, take the extra time and do things the right way. You'll be a lot happier in the end. Now be careful because using these larger bits in some of this thinner wood, I mean, there really isn't a whole lot of meat on either side of this, right? So there is a pretty good to fair chance right now that I could end up splitting this. And that would be a major disappointment in the build, because that means that this piece is just no good any longer. So I'm hoping that's not what happens. I'm hoping that this just goes through and I don't have any issues, but I will not be surprised if I end up splitting that with this much larger drill bit. So let's see. Now this isn't a guarantee that this is going to prevent you from splitting stuff like that, but what you can do is apply a little bit of pressure over top like this, and to kind of just hold everything firmly up top side here, so it really doesn't have an opportunity to flex up too much and actually split on you. This is a trick that I've used many times, and it's worked. It's worked for me every time. Now I don't know if it's just luck or if this is actually doing what it's supposed to do, but either way, it's a helpful tip that I've used time and time again, so I figured I'd share that with you guys. And there you have it. Now that's through. No splitting, no problem. Now I'm not going to take the drill bit out because I want to keep these holes perfectly parallel with one another. So what I'm going to do is just go on the other side, put the clamp on, and just continue to drill through it. There we go. So success. We've widened that hole up on both sides, as you can see. I do think, oh no, actually that countersink is still pretty effective on both sides, so I'm not gonna go back and do that over again. All right, so we've got this wrapped up a few times, as you can see. Let's try to feed this through these outer holes. Yeah, she's going. Take your time. Don't be in a rush to make a mistake. Now with that said, I could be repeating this entire process here in a few minutes, because if this is not how the arm is fastened to it, then well, then we're going to have to actually put an axle in this all over again. So, all right, now we'll feed it through this side. Well, oh yeah, there you are. All right. So, as you can see, we've got that through. So now I'm going to try to fit the arm in there and figure out exactly what the hell I'm doing, and I will be back with you guys here momentarily. Alright guys, so here we are. We're going to wrap this up, evening number 1. It's probably like a 2-evening type project, just to bring you guys up to speed now of where we're at the end of this. So my assumption was correct in the way that the torsion system actually operates. So as you can see, I made a little notch just to keep everything in its place. Now one thing I'm noticing is that the arm has a tendency to want to move side to side, so I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do to fix that, but in any case, this is where we're at now. This is an ugly, just I can't keep this that way, so I'm going to do one of two things. Now that I know how this works, and I'm confident, and I'm happy that I was right with my first guess, was that there is no axle. The ropes are the axle. This whole torsion system is the axle. So now that I know that, I can do one of two things. I can either do this all over again and come up with a new way of cinching the tension on each end, because right now we just have screws and a washer wrapped through and twisted up, and I don't particularly care for the way that looks. Or I can box this in and build little plywood inserts that just fit over this and hide it so you don't see it, right? I can just tuck all of this in there and put a little box over it, and you'll never know that it was there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet. This will is not going to stay, this stupid bottle cap. This was just the first thing I could think of that would hold a marble while I tested it out, and it actually works. It works pretty well. I mean, it'll shoot the marble across the shed, so it's a tiny little catapult. But as you can see, I just did some additional bracing for support here in the front. But yeah, that's where we're at. I wrapped a little bit of rope just to give it the look. But in any case, that's where we're going to stop for this evening. I'm definitely happy with the way that it's coming along. It's awfully small. In hindsight, I do wish that maybe I started building a bigger one. That doesn't mean that I couldn't do that. I mean, I could certainly just be happy with what I've done here and use this as my prototype piece and just start a whole new one of a much larger size. I certainly could do that, but I don't think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to keep moving forward with this one and see it through to its completion. The next thing I have to do is figure out a trigger system for it. Initially, I was going to use one of these hook latches, just like I did with the trebuchet. However, it's just a little too large for this. You can see if we have this, generally this thing has to be held down to about this level for it to really get the desired action. So I think maybe I'm just going to run a pin through this side bracing and have it lock into the side of the arm there that way, and then I can just pull on a string and release it that way. I'm torn about what to do with regards to its spoon or its seating, right? So I could make a more, I could make something that looks a lot better than that and fasten it there, and it could just launch it that way. Or I could try to do a sling design, right? So just kind of like with the trebuchet, there's a sling that hangs off the back of the arm, and it launches stuff just like the trebuchet does in a way without the rotation, but the sling is the same idea. There's a release pin and so forth. So I could do that. I may toy around with both just to see which one performs better on such a small scale thing. I have a feeling that it's going to be this cup, this seat design that just performs better. I know it's tough to see, but if we put a marble in that thing and let it go, it sends the thing sailing. So it's really cool. Like I said, going into this, I had no idea how this actually worked, but I'm happy with that, and I think it's really just such a genius design, especially given the time that these things were invented and used extensively in combat. Really just an ingenious design. So in any case, I'm definitely enjoying myself building this. In the last footage, this thing wasn't even, there was no torsion system on it yet, and then all of a sudden a jump cut, and now it's functional. This isn't a how-to video. I'll say that again. It's just a documentation of my experience and sort of my thought process in building one of these things. This is just a guy in his shed at night trying to build something. So in any case, we'll pick this up on evening number 2. All right, guys, welcome back to evening number 2 of our torsion catapult build. So I've been thinking a lot about this, probably more than I should, honestly, and this just looks so terrible, and I think building little boxes to cover that is just going to make it look even worse. So really the only thing to do here, the right thing to do at least, is to just redo this whole torsion system. Alright, so now we have our rope through. Now you just play the game of figuring out where all of your loops are. They don't have to be perfect, but you need to be able to make sense of all of your loops, you know, because that's how you're going to be able to get something through there to twist these up. So the last thing you want is to only have, you know, these 4 loops twisted, and then you put a bunch of tension on it, and then these 2 slip back through. So just take that couple extra minutes to make sure you got everything somewhat in order. Just like that. Pretty happy with the way that came out. Now this is a whole lot of string, as you can see. So hopefully I'm able to make the knot out here, and then I can walk it in to that pin. I hope this is making sense. It makes sense to me, but my terminology might not be clear to everybody. I don't even know if it's correct terminology, but makes sense to me. So I love hot glue. I've loved hot glue since I was a kid. It has come in handy so many times. It's all about, you know, finding the right application for it. And I think given just how fucking janky this thing is, that this is a perfect application for some hot glue. It already looks like dog shit. I can't stress that enough. I am not encouraging anybody to build it this way, because it just looks like a clown car. It's so bulky and fat, thick, that I just think it kind of looks stupid. I'm gonna put some more hot glue on all these open fibers, because there is going to be quite a bit of tension and twisting and flexing and whatever other forces will be at work. So now we're ready to start twisting this stuff up, right? So one thing to consider, we want our rotations to go in the direction that we want the arm to go. I don't want to twist the rope this way, because all that torsion is going to want to keep the arm buried down into the ground. I want to twist toward this upright. Obviously, I want to pick I want to pick the arm up as I twist. And there, see, I mean, as you can see, it's twisting up, you know, how we want it to. Now, I need to get a pair of pliers or something on this end and really crank the piss out of that thing, so that's what I'm going to do. Probably use these needle nose. I'm going to put a little bit of bandage tape on the inside of these jaws, because I don't want them to fray or damage the rope. So just put a little bit of blue tape on there and protect everything a little bit more. Now I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to twist. Alright, let's see how that feels. That actually feels really good. I'll set these down. Yep. This one actually needs... It's pretty centered, actually. I can live with that. This one actually needs a few more turns. I want to twist. I don't want to just twist the rope. I want to twist the nail as well. And this big fucking knot is really making that kind of a chore. But I think I can do it. If I believe it. Oh, God. That's the ticket, my friends. Oh, shit. Man, you put your finger in there. That's liable to break it. I'm curious. Damn. Too high. There we go. That looks better than that bulky bullshit. I mean, here's just comparison to my first idea. That's just a lot more clean, and I can paint that black and it'll become very inconspicuous. Okay, now the next step, now that I have that replaced, it was definitely the right thing to do. Now that I have that replaced, what I want to do is cut off all this excess on the base here, just to slim it down a little bit. Now what I need to do is come up with a sling system. Initially I was going to do some sort of cup here on the end of the arm. It just flung whatever shit I put in and out. I want to try the sling design first. I forget what those specific torsion catapults are called that have the sling on the back. I want to say they're onagers. I'm not exactly sure, but in any case, I would like to try to put a sling on the back as opposed to just like a basket for the stuff to sit in. If it works like shit, then I'll obviously go ahead and do a basket on top and call it a day. But I would like to at least make an attempt at putting a sling on this. I just like the sling. I think it's a really cool design. I think it's kind of a genius way to throw something around. So I'm going to try to make a really small sling that just hangs off the back of this, and hopefully it works. All this catapult is going to launch with these really small glass marbles. So it's not going to be a very large sling at all. In fact, it's going to be certainly on the smaller side. Let me fold this piece of leather in half and just see if we can use this scrap left over. And it actually looks like we can. I think that even needs to be trimmed a little bit, but this is certainly going to suit our purpose. So, just to make this manageable, you know, there's no sense in having this huge piece of leather. So I will cut a little generously, and then I can trim down from there once I figure out exactly how we're going to do this. So it's looking like what I'm going to do is I'm going to secure one side of it first, and then I can make all my alterations on the other side. We're going to try the hot glue gun again. Now, if hot glue guns offend people, then this probably isn't the channel for you. I would never use a hot glue gun in commercial construction. At least I don't think I have. If I have, it's still held up because I haven't got a phone call. But if you don't like hot glue guns and you don't like zip ties, I really don't know what to tell you. I don't think this is going to be a good experience for you watching my videos. They're actually pretty good. I don't own a leather punch, but I do own a hanger nail, so that's what we're going to use. Really. Yeah. So now what I need to determine is sling placement. I'm pretty sure in a situation like this, where the arm isn't doing a revolution so much as it's changing its angle, I want it to be hanging off of the very end of the arm. Now, hopefully I'm correct in that assumption. So, what we've done here is we've put our screw and washer that will hold our static sling line, and then we have our release pin directly above it. If this doesn't work, I can always change up this setup, but for now, I think it's worth exploring this. So I can already see a problem that we're going to run into here. Now, I'm going to see this through because I'm about 2 steps away from trying it out. These really should be hanging directly over top of the sling, not through the sides where it's causing it to sit sideways like this. And I'm pretty sure that is going to be a problem. I don't think this is going to work right at all, honestly. This is all about trying things out, right? I think it's important to showcase our failures just as much as our successes in life. This is certainly one of those situations where I have a pretty good to fair feeling that is going to work like shit. But we're going to try anyway and see what happens. Really, I'm just a fool. This is a shitty idea, and I am convinced that this is not going to work worth a damn, really. I will try. Yeah, this isn't going to work, dude. This just isn't going to work, unfortunately. The sling, the orientation is fucked. I'm going to reset the location of the strings on this pouch and then see if we can try this again. So off camera, I made some alterations to the pouch. Now this is what I was saying before was the reason why my previous sling design, the way that I had the ropes run through, was not going to work. They were just pulling on one side. All of the weight was resting on one side of the pouch. It was causing it to hang in the air like this. So what I've done is run these 2 loops out, so now it can hang like this. So what I'm going to do now is just throw a marble into this thing and see if that is in fact an improvement. We'll just put a marble in there. Make sure none twist it up. Now I don't have a trigger system built yet for this, so I'm just going to park this thing back by hand and let it go. Wow! That was cool. Oh, that works great. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy that I went back and fixed that. Oh, that works great. So now that we have our torsion system working well, we have our sling and pouch working well, now I need to come up with some sort of a trigger system for this. Well guys, off camera I came up with a very simple pin trigger release system. I mean, listen guys, if we haven't come to this realization already, we have moved way past having any pride in this machine, and now I just want it to work. That's really all I care about at this point. So, I drilled a small hole in the arm here. I cut an hook, bent it over, I have fastened it in here, and the pin just slides through the hook and right into hole in the arm. So it works. I'm done. Now I'm just going to give it a light sand. Mainly just want to get this wood glue that's has seeped out of any joints. I want to get rid of that just so the stain can set properly to it. Then I think I'm going to wrap some rope. I did the same here on this cross brace, but I want to put some rope around this portion too that will actually make contact with this. And so I'm not going to subject you guys to the sanding and all that again. It doesn't really make any sense to do that, or the staining or anything. Next time you guys will see this, it will be absolutely finished, and I'll just demonstrate it for you, and then we can wrap this up. Well, there it is, guys. Consider it done. This is our miniature version of a torsion catapult, albeit a little bulky and kind of chunky, but certainly works well. It's pretty cool, for sure. Understanding and coming up with that torsion system was definitely a great learning experience for me. Something that I had absolutely no knowledge of really going into it, but I'm glad that that worked out well. I also think that the leather pouch and the sling just add something to it. It was worth putting in the extra time and effort to make that work properly, because I think it's really cool. But in any case, I will shoot a marble off real quick just so you can see that that it is fully operational. So we just set the marble inside the pouch, hang that washer on the release pin, and then we send it home. But it's definitely a cool little build, and I altogether, I think this really only took me about 3 hours total to do. So it's a simple project, and if I didn't stain it and stuff, it would have taken half that time. But I definitely think it's worth going back and taking the time to stain it and paint all the little pieces, because it just adds something to the build, you know, because it really looked fucking stupid prior to the staining, and now it doesn't look quite as stupid, albeit stupid looking, but just not quite as bad. I had to back the camera up quite a bit so I could put this thing in frame, but these are our 2 completed and functional siege engines. So we have our trebuchet, our torsion catapult, and our next build, to keep in the siege engine theme that we have going on here on the channel, I'm going to build a ballista. I believe that's what it's called, ballista. In any case, that's going to be our next project, and just like with these 2 builds, we will have absolutely no plan going into that. I will look at just an image of the ballista, and I will only use an image. I will not have the image in front of me while I build it, which I didn't do with either one of these, and you guys are just going to have to take my word for that. I will look at one image of it, and then hopefully I can remember what it looks like in my head, and that is exactly what I'm going to use to build it, is that mental image, just like I did with the trebuchet, just like I did with the catapult. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I know there's a million other videos that you could have clicked on, but you clicked on this one, and it does mean a lot to me, so thank you very much. Take care, guys, and we'll see you later.